Right.
So hold up, but finish the story though.
We gotta do
No,
this. Can't
you
be.
you told him not to.
Hey,
You can finish it.
hold on. Yo, 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 yo. So we got
Yeah.
some. All three of us is on here today, and we were early this morning. Uh, Meg, and say hello, Meg, Jantel,
What's up, y'all?
Grand Rising, everybody. Hello, hello.
and so this morning it was put in our morning conversation that to be rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, and went into some context because I don't think people really understand uh, uh, means, what it entails. What I wanted to talk about this morning is that because I think people have a misconception of that they would rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, because that's not what we should be out here teaching our young brothers and sisters, because that that's not self-protection. The it, the movement
Plus,
shouldn't be about. Oh, go ahead.
so I guess I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I agree with you, but then I don't. I guess I'm not sure. Like, okay, so like I told you, I was lost on this whole thing for one. Like I got the gist of it, but then after a while, like all these big words and technicalities, technical stuff,
Right.
like I get lost in the sauce. And so I'm wondering, and that's why I was like, we should go live about this because I was wondering if a lot of other people feel the same way and they just check out when it comes to these conversations because like we don't get it. So my thing is we already have this huge gun problem and they say I'm quoting black on black
Oh
crime
yeah.
and
No,
mass
let's talk about
shootings
it.
and all this shit and the kids and these domestic terrorists and these young white boys going and shooting shit up and all that stuff. So like, and a lot of people are against guns, a lot of people are against war. I'm not against guns, however I am against war. I'm a peace loving person, but I am a person that supports the fact of needing to protect yourself and your rights. And because we have so many guns out there, unfortunately, I do feel it's important to have a gun. Unfortunately, and that causes a big problem and a conflict of interest for myself and turmoil within myself. You feel what I'm saying? So, like, although I agree with you, I like my mind and heart like wants to disagree because why the fuck do we have to be in this position to begin with? Like, why do we like it shouldn't be that way that like someone can just like why it's important to say like, and this is what I'm gathering from this, just what I'm gathering from this on the surface, right? That like I should kill someone to protect myself instead of letting the law handle a situation because I could end up dead waiting for the law instead of just taking matters into my own hands in my own life. Um, and at the
Right.
No,
basis
because
of that, I understand that and I do agree. However, like that also makes things very dangerous. Like the days of the Wild West, supposedly, and mind you, the Wild West wasn't as dangerous as people make it out to be. Today's age is like 1,000 times more dangerous than the Wild West ever was. But you get what they say about the Wild West, like just lawlessness and anarchy and shit, which I don't have a problem with. I'm just saying, do people know what they're ready for if they like if they're supporting that? And I'm not coming at you about that. I'm just like looking at it from the other side and really looking at it from the standpoint of what I gathered from what you're saying. So please like correct me and pick apart if I'm wrong.
I want to add to what Chaz is saying. I'm actually the one that sent this graphic because I had this Meek Mill song in my head, and I just kept remembering like that verse. So I made a graphic, sent it to the group, and then Chaz like changed my perspective and thinking about it because I was robbed at gunpoint like 5 years ago, and I had my concealed weapons permit, and it was two people. They jumped out of the car and they both had guns drawn at High and Prospect. It was noon time. Now, I was told if I Lancaster County or city, that if I would have shot and killed both of them, my case would have been open and closed. But because I did not, I had to take a polygraph test to show that I was telling the truth. And I was the victim. Yeah, real shit. So
that does not make any sense to me.
The guy that robbed me told them he stole my gun in the process because I was a really slow pull. I didn't want to kill nobody. I help people, like that's not my, goals in life. And he took my 40 and he told the cops why he took my 40 was because it was a basketball bet. So it was mad shady. I wasn't in the right either.
Word against his.
Right. And so they made me take a polygraph test to see if it was a drug transaction gone bad.
wow.
And I passed the polygraph test. Everything was fine. But I mean, it was still traumatizing because I've never been in trouble other than for like small possession of marijuana. But back to the point is like, I do see what you're saying now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, because I want people to think about this. So let's think about a situation of someone breaks into your house in the middle of the night.
Right.
Your children are screaming. He bursts into your room waving a shotgun. You shoot him. He falls down, drops the shotgun. As you pass him to go check on your children, having kicked the drop shotgun away from him, he growls, "I'm going to kill you." You put 2 more rounds into him and go see if your children are safe. Now, do you think that he's going to prison, or do you think that in this situation, they're not going to charge him?
You was the judge and the jury in that situation.
Right.
Right.
Because you've already, why would you he's down. What is the point of putting 2 more in him?
But what if he doesn't die?
But exactly. And he said, "I'm going to kill you." Whether he was still down or not, you don't know if he could actually get up. And
that's a gray area in the law.
But you're still fighting for your life and you're still in the mode of self-defense. If he's actively stating, "I'm going to kill you," whether he's down or not, you don't know if he can get up. And
so then why do we get mad at police when they do that shit?
I get what you're saying. I
No,
get
you
what
don't.
you're saying.
I do
because
that's it. You
it's
can't,
the
we can't
bigger
sit on the
because
fence with
no,
it.
listen, because it's the bigger picture of everything else that proves the bigger picture of the statistic. Right, but it's also the way that they have the law on their side and the way that they systemically
qualified immunity. But I want to put it deeper.
That makes it all worse. But I get what you're saying, and I agree because I've had conversations with people that support police and that don't agree with like these police involved shootings of Black men, but they can use the law and their justification to prove something. And we've had actively calm, debates about this, and I can't argue them. I can't disagree with them. Do you know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel you. It's just that like when you look at the whole bigger context, it goes out the window. However, in this specific context of what you're stating here, like throw the cops out of this, but just look at it from a civilian standpoint. I can't argue you.
Right.
Like in that scenario that you threw down, I feel like that the person who's in the home protecting his kids, unfortunately, the person who was committing the crime of burglary or home invasion or whatever he was trying to do, he or she or they, let's be inclusive here. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, statistically I can't
there's a so
somebody, but I'm just saying, like, if they're still actively stating I'm going to kill you, you can't tell if they're going to still like get up or not. And therefore, if in my mind, I would still actively try to make sure that they either cannot get the gun or I can actively watch them.
See, now thank you. You make a very good point. And
it doesn't have to be fatal.
Right. And this is what I want to say, because basically a lot of people aren't trained. A lot of, you know what I'm saying? I don't have no military training. So that's not going to be something that I'm going to do when somebody says, oh, I'm going to kill you. What are you going to kill me with? You already got a bullet in you. You have no weapon and you're down. So first of all, I'm going to make sure that he can't go anywhere until law enforcement gets there. Because this isn't about taking somebody's life.
It's also about making competent, rational decisions, because you're in charge of someone else's life if you injure them.
Right.
I get what you're saying, and I guess in a court of law, like, you would have to still prove that you were competent to be able to commit that judgment, right?
And here's my thing of it is too, because I even go back to if people don't remember, 137 shots out of Cleveland, Ohio, and the officer that jumped on the cars, and this is how he got off, was because of the simple fact that he said he feared for his life.
At what point is it excessive? Is a good question.
Right. So, but you got to also think of too how people are trained to shoot too. Are people shooting to train to kill?
Yeah, of course. They're trained to kill.
Are you supposed to train at least to subdue? That's the whole thing of it is, because we have to. I'm going to tell you right now that I don't want to be judged by 12, and I don't want to be carried by 6.
Right.
Because it shouldn't even have to get to that point, because first of all, being judged by 12, those aren't my peers. Those are people who already look down at me. So any black man that is out here saying that they would rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, go grab a book. Go grab a law book. Learn your laws.
Yes,
learn what to do if you're what is self-defense, because a lot of y'all just want to be out here bussing and be like, oh, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Well, okay, but y'all talk about this racist ass system. Come on now.
And that's why they need, rap music is so, it can change things. Because I didn't even think about it that way truly until we had this conversation. And I was just like ignorant to the fact.
Right. No, and that's what it bothers me, because people, there's a whole nother. Now I bet you Meek Mill don't even know where that saying comes from.
Right. Because I will point out there, Meek Mill grew up in a culture of, right after the crack era. You know what I'm saying? The war on drugs. And that's where a whole generation of youngsters grew up being separated from the sense of community. You know what I'm saying? And grew up in this culture of ignorance. Well, like, people like to say, oh, black people, we don't have a culture. Yes, we do. We have a culture of violence and ignorance overall. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's not to offend our people.
It's the civil rights movement.
But it is what it is.
I'm going to tell you. And what's crazy is Reverend Tim Christopher, love this man to death. He brings up a great point, because when is the last time the black community has shown unity?
Right.
Before the civil rights, it was Rosa Parks, even though it should have been Claudette Colvin, who we really should have started or whatever, but that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother day. But the bus of how black people, that's how we get changed. But we can't do things like that, because it's too much money going around. So it's easy to have a lot of William O'Neills. It's a lot of what they want to call coons, Uncle Toms, sellouts, and
Right.
and they're okay being called that because their pockets are fat. They have nice homes, nice cars, so they can get beat up on social media. And at the end of the day, they're gonna, well, we don't care. I'm living good. Well, people like us that are out here really facing, putting the facts out here and putting truth and transparency,
Mhm.
we're the ones that are struggling.
Mhm.
Right.
So if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yep.
Right.
And I hope Gulfport, Mississippi is listening.
Now hold on a second though. Back to that scenario, because there's still a lot more that can be broken down for that. Let's say that person that broke into the home did pass away, right?
Mhm.
What would actually happen then to the
Now, are we
person that,
talking about after the first shot? Are we talking the first shot? Are we talking about the other bullets?
well, the other bullets? I'm saying what happens if, like, say, the person that burglarized or whatever committed the crime said, I'm
I
going to
can
shoot.
say this, that in Minnesota, that the homeowner is going to jail. He's going to jail. He's going to either be charged with manslaughter or murder.
In Pennsylvania, he would be free. Commonwealth state.
I would literally say that. What'd you say?
Um, in Pennsylvania, the person would be free because
Why?
it's the stand your ground state.
Yeah,
So do you mean to tell me that?
we're Commonwealth, so we're not a state. So, like, I guess the laws are a little different for Commonwealths too.
Right. But my thing of it is, so you mean to tell me that if you literally kick the gun away from the guy, and because he says I'm gonna kill you, and you put two more in him, that's okay?
They would say it is justified.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
Because if anybody comes for Pennsylvania, if the stand your ground rights for people or citizens are, it's a Mikasa rule. And so if anybody comes in your house with force, comes at you while you're in your house with force, you have the right to defend yourself by all means necessary. If you're in your vehicle and you're parked and someone approaches you with force, you have the right to protect yourself by all means necessary.
I understand that, but if there's no threat, if the threat is subdued, there's actually no threat, and because some words, you mean to
That
tell
would
me
be, you're
no,
right.
there's no way.
That would be
I think
causation for justification.
But at the same time, if someone makes an active threat against your life, isn't
They
that
lunge towards you. You'd have to spice it up. They lunge toward, like, to
okay,
cover
hold
your
on.
own ass.
Right, you
God?
would have to, because I thought it was sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt.
Right,
You're
right.
right. No, you're
Because
right.
my whole thing of it is, and this is one thing that I learned too, because I get a lot of threats. I'm sure other people have, because I've
Mhm.
literally had people message me and tell me they're gonna kill me and bury me on their farm,
Yep.
and I'll go to the police. Well, that's not a threat, but literally I'll say something, and
Exactly.
then it's a threat. Like
Exactly.
I'll be like, what the fuck? So you mean to tell me I didn't say nothing about shooting
Right.
nobody, nothing about killing nobody, just
So
that we can meet up and fight? But that's a
to
threat.
add to what you're saying, Chaz, I have Chris Young who is listening to our show right now. He is an ex-cop for Lancaster City, and he is replying in the comments because I asked him if it was correct what you were speaking about earlier as far as how to talk. And he's saying that officer safety is always taught first. That's the first
Yeah,
thing he heard in the academy.
yeah. Oh yeah, I
So
already knew that. Any officer will tell you they're trained to shoot to kill. That's in every standard police training academy. It's you know what's crazy is I guarantee it. I've spoken to a lot of veterans over the last couple of years, and on both sides of it, there's ones that are glad they went over there and defended the country, and then you have ones that really come over there and tell the truth. Uh, and that's how I even came to even find out about the whole I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, and where it came from, because it's the military.
Right.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You know what? I think these are kind of we need to start having like little class sessions where we start researching and if things that we already know, but just learning our rights and like learning with people and letting people know, like, so we all are on the same page with stuff like this, because it just really got my mind churning when we started talking about this morning, because I am aloof when it comes to this, and personally I do want to be able to learn how to properly use a gun effectively, and then be able to carry one legally and use one, so that I'm able to protect myself. Because honestly, statistically, any of this could happen. Meg, what you went through, and this scenario that you brought up, Chaz, any of this can happen to anybody at any point in time. So
Right.
how do I get in that situation?
Look at the woman, the Aaron Dean police officer who was just charged this week for the Atiana Jefferson case. She was in playing Nintendo with her nephew. The cop came into her backyard. He shot her and killed her, and was just sentenced to 11 years, 10 months this week. So it can definitely happen at any time, and we have to be able to protect ourselves.
The fact that someone can go up to your window, if they're a cop, walk up to your back window and just shoot through it without any kind of real active warning or anything, no justification, is just mind-boggling. However, I am very, very glad that something actually is being done. He's held accountable to some extent. That is great to hear, finally, because it's been way too long.
Right.
And with
But
the
he was only
indication.
charged with
Say that again?
He was charged, like, I was thinking he would get at least a second degree murder charge. He was only charged with manslaughter.
And see, that's what I'm saying.
And
We are starting to see some indictments and little things happening, but we're not seeing like any
the right
active,
charges.
Right. We're not seeing any definitive actual stance and actions yet. And so that all that means is that we need to like double down and triple down on how we're pushing this all together, even more so to see more effective, tangible product of our hard work and how hard people have actually been pressing for this. We need more people putting their pedal to the metal on top of that too.
Right. So in Texas, I just looked this up because I was curious. It says manslaughter occurs whenever the death of someone else is caused by recklessness. There is no premeditation, which is why manslaughter is not the level of a murder charge. And it's a sliding scale 20 years in Texas.
How many years?
2 to 10.
Who outside? You outside, Meg? I hear windshield wipers. Is it right?
Yes, I am outside.
Yo, shout out to Chaz up there in the negatives.
For real, freezing his bejesus off.
Yeah. Up in the Arctic.
He said negative 10. I said, oh shit, that's crazy. I get a little. I got my bird.
You know, I don't know that stand your ground, how you guys said, but my thing of it is, if you've already disarmed a person and they're not a threat, why shoot to kill?
Right.
That's where our practices and policies and procedures need change to where there is definition within the law of what is excessive and what is not. That's the solution to that problem.
Right. No. So there are very few situations where violence doesn't come with legitimate instructions on how to avoid it. The potential of violence isn't resolved by you leaving. Citizens cannot leave. Hmm. I just think for me is because we um, as people, as a generation, um, at an era that we're in, because it was crazy. We were just went for this was yesterday, but we went. I was before the event. I went to go get coffee and some things before we got to the event, and they were playing some. This is how they were playing Montel Jordan.
Yeah.
And I just made a couple of comments, and because the cashier was like, "Yeah, they don't know nothing about this music,"
Right.
and I was like, "Yeah, they know how to make babies. They just don't know nothing about the music." And um, and really, that's what it is, because it's we think that we may know things, or that we were, because I see a lot of blind, ignorant, uneducated, not undereducated, don't want to admit it, uh, people out there in this world that think that by them going to the ballot, that they're doing their due diligence for change, or if they come out to a march, or if they sent an email, uh, that they're doing their part. And this is where I want to say you're wrong, because you have to follow through. Where's the end game?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there an end game?
Right.
They say this is a marathon, but should it be a race? If we're running a marathon sometimes never ends.
Talk about it.
Right.
But a race, there's an ending. There's a goal. So that's why in 2023, the marathon ends, and we're starting a race.
Right.
We're starting a race, because we don't have time to wait anymore. Because you know what, there's words that they said John Lewis said, or maybe it wasn't even him, but if not us, then who? If
Right.
not now, then when?
Right.
So I think everybody needs to look at December 31st, 2022. The marathon ends and the race continues,
Talk
or
about
it
it.
begins.
Say that one more time.
December 31st, 2022, the marathon ends and the race begins. Because there's $17.6 billion in Minnesota. So if we really want to end homelessness, if we really want to better our communities, the time is now, because Congress just signed a $1.7 trillion omnibus bill to run our government, that gave, even though they weren't satisfied with it, all this money to Ukraine.
Yep.
But gave us what? Because
And
we
this
still
is
have
what
homeless people out here.
This is what I try to tell, and we're gonna go back to the homeless topic in a second. I think and this is why we stress world news, because it's so important. If you don't understand world news, it's hard to understand what is happening in our own country and how it plays a part. Why is this motherfucker? Why are these motherfuckers? Excuse me, no, not excuse my language. Why are these people giving so much money to a proxy war and starving our people and kicking them out on the street? Think about it. And not to mention just what's going on in your area, Chaz.
It's not even just Minneapolis, though. I want people to know this. It's not.
I'm point, though, because y'all going through negative temperatures and they just kick out another encampment.
Right.
That's true.
They're going to do another one next week.
See? And the same thing here. They're setting up warming shelters for the homeless here because of how cold it's getting, instead of just housing people. And we have shelters that are millions of dollars getting invested into them, and it's widely known, but they're Christian based. So if you're Muslim or you're Jewish or you practice hoodoo or whatever, you're out of luck. You're on the streets. If you happen to be queer, you're out on the streets. There's nowhere for you to go.
You know what trips me out though, as I hear all this talk about affordable housing. What about permanent homeowners?
Right.
What about homeownership?
They want renters.
They want renters. Oh, I know.
Yep.
It's a capitalist world. It's a capitalist system. You know, I sit there and I think about it. All of these abandoned old apartment buildings, but they want to put up new housing. Why don't we take care of the housing that's already here?
Talk about it.
Because it really trips me out. It really does. I mean,
and make it affordable.
Right.
Right.
There is no such thing as affordable.
Right. The other day we attended. We had the pleasure of speaking at and attending a rally for the homeless on the darkest and longest day of the year, December 21st. And we spoke about houselessness and the issues and the impacts, but we also talked about statistics and what I learned. And I thought I was wrong in this, and it's actually worse. What the statistic is for every one homeless person in America, there is 5 homes.
Mm-hmm.
So every homeless person in America can be supplied with a home, and there will be 4 more homes per person left to give. Even then, so that's mind-boggling. And they're building more homes that price out way beyond what people can make, and those homes and properties are sitting empty because they're just investments for rich people.
Right.
Money makers.
Yep.
Oh, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Makes sense.
That's the way that it's always been. That's the way that it will always. I shouldn't say always will be, because I do think there will be a point in time where the younger generation will be in control. It's time to let the guard go. And that what I mean by the guard is the Nancy Pelosi's, the Joe Biden's, the Amy Klobuchar's, the Tina Smiths. And we need new blood in there. We need younger blood. We need that isn't rich, because these people, you should become a politician to work for your community, not to make it a career.
Right.
And I want people to really think about that, because if you look at these people's net worths before they became politicians and then their net worths now, I want to know how.
Right. Well, investments.
Ain't no fucking investment.
Stocks. Well,
Ain't no
look at
goddamn
Pelosi. There's a whole, I think it was like Vox or something. They did a special on these politicians and how they make money. And Nancy Pelosi, she makes millions of dollars off of her stock investments, and they get. And you know, Martha Stewart went to jail for being able to know what her stocks were gonna look like, and she pulled out. But Nancy Pelosi and all these other,
you talking about liberal? You talking about liberal yep. Martha?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the FTX. Wait, no, let's talk about the FTX guy.
But also after this, I want to go to Ruth's comment too, because that is really ringing my bells. But go ahead.
No, let's talk about the FTX dude. We're talking about all this fraud and how nothing happens. Let's talk about the FTX guy who all of a sudden didn't have any money, but is out on $250 million bail. The highest bail ever in America. He's out on right now.
Woo.
You tell me how, come on. But then you look at all the money he gave to the Democrats in this last election cycle. And who leads our country right now?
Right. A Democrat.
Right.
Talk about it.
You know, people say that conversation rules a nation. No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Nope.
Conversation just lingers the nation. Money rules the nation. That's what I'm going to talk about it, because how is it that in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, and then we'll go to Ruth's comment. Yep, thank you. To sit there, and I forgot where I was going with this. Damn, I was reading the comments and then lost my. No, you're good. That was my fault. They need to draw people to the city to make money in order to fund projects like affordable housing, according to city council. You know, I this was what frustrates me about city councils and when it comes to budgets, because I really want to talk about this comment right here from Ruth. Is affordable housing in the eyes of politicians doesn't draw or attract the right type of people that are going to bring money, taxes to the community. They need that younger nurses, doctors, young executives. That's why we see more things being built up.
That's exactly why we're seeing the gentrification that we're seeing, and we associate it with young white millennial and Gen Zers who are these kind of professionals with their shades and their poodles walking around.
So you want to put it? I don't put it. Whoops. It's like I'm listening to the scanner. It's not even about, see, I don't want to put it as just white anymore, because I'm going to be 100. There's a lot of black people that look the other way just as much as white people do.
You right. You know
what I'm saying? So to me, it's about wealth. To me, it's about being selfish and not selfless.
Yep.
Because that's where we're at. We're at a class war. There is racism.
Talk about it.
Right. There is racism, but we have to look at it on a whole nother context, a whole nother, because it's 2022 and racism isn't the same as the 1960s. Every different era has a different form of systemic racism involved in it, regardless of how you want to look at it, how you want to conceive it, how you want to envision it. It's all different. I sit there and I think about it. I can think of situations from the 60s and put it to today, or even from during the LA riots, or even Ferguson, because they've learned from those events, and then put it into play what worked, because that's what you've seen in Minneapolis.
Yep.
That's what you've seen in Minneapolis. That's what you were seeing all in Portland. That's what you were seeing in Chicago, what you were seeing in New York, what you were seeing in some of the biggest cities that were having protests. You were seeing tactics that they already knew that they were going to use. Just like now, I've seen things that were going on, trainings that people were actually training tactics of how to supposedly de-escalate riots, protests, even now from the Minneapolis era. So I just feel like this, for anybody that is thinking that the DOJ is going to help us, that the FBI is going to help us. You tell me a time ever did anybody do the right thing just because they wanted to. And I'm going to talk about a situation because I still see people out here fighting for Emmett Till, right? But America tells us that they can't. And it's not that they can't, it's that they won't. But yet I see in Germany that they just arrested a 97-year-old woman.
Right.
That was a secretary at a prison.
Yep.
That didn't kill anybody, but just because she worked for that regime. But yet we can't arrest Carolyn Bryant.
Right.
Right.
So that's what bugs me is and I'm going to say this because and if the shoe fits, wear it. But I feel like Americans are cowards.
Yep.
I'm gonna 100 say it because I see in the videos I see from Peru, I see
Talk
from other
about it.
countries,
Talk
the
about it.
police when they're out in the streets, the police run from them.
Yep.
In America, we run from the police because that's what we're trained
Yep.
from BLM. We're trained by these paid activists.
Look at
To
Sri
run.
Lanka. It was like thousands of people flooded the palaces and was in their jacuzzi and eating their food and having parties. They kicked them out and said, "You're done. You don't represent the people. We want you out, and you're out now." You know, but the countries that get subdued and their people are still rioting and protesting at the same time, but they're still getting shot out on the streets, are the ones that America dominates and supports. Like Haiti, for example. Haiti is dominated by us. We put someone in power, and that country's getting decimated. Any country that we basically run because we have puppets running that state, those countries are in turmoil.
That's a good point.
I'm just an old black conservative. I don't know. I'm just over here talking shit.
Let's go back to Ruth's comment really quick. To the officer in the chat, how are you trained in dealing with mental health calls? Do you shoot to kill if you feel your life is in danger?
I can answer that just by
Statistics would tell you that.
Yeah, statistics definitely. And the officers are given, they say, mental health training, but mental health training consists of 40 work hours of the crisis intervention training. That's all.
Wow.
Absolutely insane. And that's a one-time training. It's not like every year or anything like that. It's a one-time like CIT training. And their job, like they're taught to protect themselves at all means necessary.
He isn't blowing down. Never. Whoops. But they do. They don't. I think about it like this: Andre Hill, Casey Goodson, Tamir Rice.
Mm-hmm.
I think what the whole for me is we have to look at rules of engagement of how they're trained. We have to look at qualified immunity, because that's what I see a lot of it is why they get off, is because they can use that our skin color as fear.
Yep.
And we have to spotlight those issues to bring them up to legislators that can, change the law. That's going to be the only solution.
Wait, what did you just say?
Like change it through legislation. But
no, I agree with that. But if that was, I thought they were already supposed to have been doing that.
I ain't seen it.
Or did I not get the memo?
Yeah, maybe I didn't get the memo either.
You know what I'm saying? Because I thought there was what happened to the George Floyd Act or the Breonna Taylor Act?
Right. Talk about it. Where'd they go?
Right.
It was to silence the people.
It was to shut us up.
Right, exactly.
Nope. That's people need to stop going to church thinking that. I'm not telling people not to go, but don't go to church praying for God to fix the world. Because he ain't got nothing to do with it.
Especially if you want to sit on the couch and eat bonbons and tell God to fix the world.
Right.
Talk about it.
No.
We got to arm ourselves with knowledge, y'all. And that is what you gave me this morning. I appreciate you, brother.
For real. This was a very informative, passionate, talkative conversation. And I like when we play devil's advocate and look at things from all sides, because we truly do learn stuff. I learned a lot today, and I'm thankful for all of us having different like areas of knowledge, and we're able to share this stuff with each other, because it really does show to everyone else and the viewers that watch that we all have different points of views and we all have different areas of knowledge. And when we share these things and just talk for different points of perspectives and respect it and just learn and listen, like we say, listen all the time, there's a reason behind that, you know. And we just all learned something today, three of us. And I hope and you know, I'm sure that everyone watching today and listening today learned something too. So this was a really dope
They
episode.
probably didn't.
And you know, I'm gonna add before chat says they probably didn't. I think this is like, you know, opening up the bigger conversation as well as, you know, a larger realm of clarity for our consciousness.
Talk
Right.
about it.
So
Because
this
all it
is
takes is one person to listen.
that
Right.
talk about it. So what is up here highlighted is what I wanted people to see, where the 12-6 dictum is, where it came from. And it is the brainchild of Colonel Jeff Cooper, founder of Gunsight. The colonel's military background strongly influenced his concepts of shooting, including when to shoot and when to stop. A particularly hotly debated issue is the wisdom of training military-style shooting in a civilian context. Basically, the rules of engagement are different.
Right? What about Jalen Walker?
Right.
Well, I know people better be watching Akron.
Right.
And watch the Southern Six as well.
I seen something on Twitter last night that concerned me. So,
Really?
yeah.
I know it's been really quiet out there, and we haven't really been following Akron in detail like we should. So we
Who has
definitely
me?
The Leon Block in general. We haven't
Just
been
like
following.
you're doing,
We should
I mean,
be.
story-wise, we haven't been, but look, no, we've been there.
Yeah,
We all eyes on Akron on the low.
yeah, exactly. But we gonna
Nobody
provide
knows y'all
you. Yeah.
To be continued. Stay up to date with the Urban Conservative and the Leon Block for more.
About it, right? Dropping that knowledge this moment,
For real, you be on fire, bro. I feel the heat.
right?
You this one.
Feeling the heat on this blustery day.
For real, keeping me nice and toasty.
Cool as hell outside.
Yeah, but
Cold as hell.
you bring in the tea, the coffee,
I'm gonna know that today.
the coffee, and the smoke.
No,
This
no smoke, no smoke. No, just kidding.
look, some people like this shit with their coffee, but
I wanted to read something. Now I gotta find it.
I'm just saying that I think that it's great, and I think it's important to just be able to sit back in the morning and just grab some knowledge really quick. You know, speaking of, you know, it's great to be able to sit and listen, and you can also listen to the Urban Conservative and Freedom for All in podcast format as well. And you know, season 2 of the new shows coming up in 2023, you definitely should check that out, coming at you. You know, we do have tons of special content coming at you very soon as well. And check out the recaps we have for this year 2022 of all the places we've been and things that we've done. For real.
Right. So I just want to say this is that death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside while still alive. Never surrender. And that's why I want people to remember when we talk about certain things, that this isn't a marathon, because a marathon never ends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This isn't, I mean, when Martin or Malcolm were still alive, when Fred Hampton, I didn't think they died so that the marathon just kept on going on. I think they wanted the marathon to end. I think King actually wanted to see his dream being put into play and not just talked about as a something every January or something every February, or when
Right.
people feel the need to just say, "Oh, I have a dream." Well, let's make that dream a reality. That's all I'm asking for. So that's all I got.
I think that's all I got too. I really appreciated this chat. Whew, it was fire. Like you was on fire today. Hell yeah.
Yes, honey.
Y'all know the lingo. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well.